Hi everybody, we're the Skeleton Crew, and there is yet again breaking news in paleontology media. You may have heard of a show called Prehistoric Planet. It's pretty good, and there's a second season of it, and the trailer dropped today. Now, you may notice that Amelia is not present today, and this is because Amelia chose a very poor time to embark on a several-week-long research trip in Europe, and currently doesn't have enough Wi-Fi signal to send us a text message, let alone zoom in for this video. So, she's here in spirit. The rest of us are going to watch this trailer and tell you what we think of it.
If only she had thought ahead of when they were going to, unannounced, release the trailer for this show.
Really poor,
planned
poor planning
field
on her
work
part.
around it.
Right, poor planning, poor form.
We're going to get to some poor planning later on with some dates as well.
Oh my god.
Okay, should I react? Can we make noises if we see something cool? Because I actually have not watched this trailer yet.
Yeah, that's
you
fine.
haven't?
Oh.
Yeah.
All right, are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ready.
Bird.
The astounding nature of our planet has only begun to be revealed, but there's always more to learn and more to discover. Five epic nights, 5 new worlds filled with more adventure, more danger, and more dinosaurs. Get ready for Prehistoric Planet 2. Only on Apple TV+.
So that's
Wow,
the
that was
trailer.
underwhelming.
Yeah. Thanks.
I really like this.
I think it's really cool. Although my least favorite part of it was right at the end where they said starting streaming May 22nd when I'm going to be in Brazil, which is the other part of poor planning that I alluded to earlier.
Yeah, it's also going to be on Apple TV, so Dalton and I are going to watch it.
You can borrow my password.
We haven't really seen all of season 1.
Yeah. I do think this is...
I've seen one episode.
I do think the
I watched a
season
lot
1
of clips.
trailers were better. But
They were much more exciting.
I almost disagree.
Really?
There's a couple, maybe it's just for me the fact that there's 2 shots that go really hard right back to back, which is the sauropods in front of the fucking lava. And then
show that
whatever dromaeosaur is jumping after the birds. Or Manor.
Yeah, that was cool.
I should say.
No, there's a lot of great little details in here. It's just...
That goes very
so
hard.
It feels very B-sides.
Little guy.
What do you mean by B-sides?
Like on an album, you have a B-side.
Yeah.
And this is and I understand production-wise, I think this is largely stuff they already shot.
I think so. I actually wonder if maybe part of the reason we got season 2 so quickly is maybe this stuff had been prevised and not actually sent to render farm until we saw if
I mean,
there was some stuff that
I mean, it's worth saying even as a B-sides, this is very good and cool.
Oh
looking.
yeah, absolutely. But I know that it was circulating. It was circulating. It was circulating around Twitter a while ago that there was some previs shots of these sauropods here are specifically isisaurus.
Isis, or I don't know.
No, it's not isisaurus. It's the Indian Statistical Institute saurus.
Wait, are you serious?
Yes, that's what it's named after. Isisaurus.
That's very interesting.
This is the math dinosaur.
It's the mathosaurus.
Oh, but it's cool. It's got a weird neck.
Yeah, it's a tyrannosaur. It's a
no way.
It's like a weird short-necked tyrannosaur.
I thought it was weird that it had a weird neck and weird limb proportions.
See, it reminds me of what is Atlasaurus, the one that looks like cursed.
So we'll probably get Rajasaurus, right?
So that's what the previs was. It was a previs of Rajasaurus hatching baby isisaurus.
They moved so funnily because it was the previs, and they basically were just kind of.
Now we got a Noasaurian in the first season, right? Masiakasaurus.
Mashikasaurus.
It's Mashikasaurus.
That's good to know. Mashikasaurus.
Right.
Lamau. Oof. Okay,
We
cool.
did do that.
I like noahsauring, so maybe we'll get
Yeah.
to see more.
No, it'd be great.
We have beelzebufo again, so
Right, we do. Well, let's go back to the
No
mud
Crocs.
buddies.
Awful lack of Crocs.
Still no Crocs.
No,
I-
no Crocs.
I
love-
love this.
I love this little bit of the frog yelling at the sauropod and the sauropod getting scared.
I just absolutely love that Prehistoric Planet has really committed to the fact that Beelzebufo was just a bastard. Like,
Well, isn't
once you get frogs that are big enough, they become just hateful. It's like the inverse thing of dogs. That like when dogs are really big, they're wonderful and lovely, but when they're really small, they're hateful and awful. Frogs is the opposite. Tiny frogs, wonderful. Huge frogs, monsters.
and perhaps I'm misinformed, but I think Beelzebufo got downsized recently.
It did, yes.
To like a bullfrog, which are big.
It's like an African bullfrog size. Like
It's a big frog.
It's a big frog.
But it's not
Honestly,
like
just looking
big
at the
frog.
shot, I mean, this is such a nice, like there's something to be said, and the show does it all like consistently, which is they shoot on location.
Yes.
And this just looks so good.
yeah.
Like the greens are so nice, and just like I feel like this is a real landscape because it is, and this is a real landscape that a dinosaur could live in, and it's cool, and I like it.
Yeah, it helps so much. I really love the real landscapes.
Yeah. I really enjoyed that aspect of the show, although I do wish it didn't, like, because that's something that they did intentionally, right? They put the show at the end of the Maastrichtian because that's the first time period in the Mesozoic where you can really find, like, modern landscapes that look representative of what it would have been like.
Right.
I do wish that weren't quite so limiting, because it would be great to see something of this quality, like, elsewhere in the Cretaceous or in the Jurassic. But
Yeah,
if you want to
it's-
see, sorry, Alex, real fast, just so we're on the.
You know,
topic.
of course, go ahead.
If you want to see more of us talk about why the Maastrichtian is is the place where we can actually shoot on location and get something that's accurate, watch our video on Qingjiaosaurus.
I should have just fully interrupted you.
Okay. Which we'll link on screen. Fine.
the
Fucking
link is on the
self-promotion.
screen. We're
Which is
tearing
like-
each other apart. Alex, go ahead. Sorry.
And obviously, this being a show of this quality, it's going to invite comparison to Walking with Dinosaurs.
Mhm.
And I think a little bit why Walking with Dinosaurs has stuck with me so much is like the effort they went into to like attempt to create a Jurassic or
Mhm.
Triassic or even like, you know, the boreal, like, I guess polar forests, just like this,
Yeah.
it's not just Maastrichtian. It's like, oh, we're trying to find trees that look weird and use like all these really interesting composite shots and like to just construct like those moss walls in the Jurassic episode. Just really like this attempt to create a new, like a location that looks real, but could be even more ancient than this. And this is great. Like absolutely no criticism in that regard, but
Right, but I mean, and what Walking with Dinosaurs did also, like, it constrained them a lot because there are not many places on Earth where you can do that.
right.
Right, so, like, there might be one island with a weird fauna, or weird flora, I should say, and that has to be what you use for that entire era of Earth's history. Like, what I do think here is that because it's the Maastrichtian, you've basically got a modern flora at that point, with the only exception being, like, the dominance of grasses had not yet happened.
Yeah.
You can film in a lot of places, so you can actually make really diverse environments, and so each place they film really does feel unique. I do really like that. I mean, you guys haven't watched all of the series yet. I know you've seen clips of a lot of the other stuff, but you know, there's pretty diverse landscapes that they show, and everything feels really real.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
it's a pro-con thing.
Yeah, and even like in some places, like focus on some of the plant life that isn't as prevalent here. Like specifically the episode with the Allura Titan, the focus on horsetails, which I mean, they're still around. They're just not as common.
Right.
But like it's speaking on the Walking with Dinosaurs, there are just bits that stick with you. Man, the like environment that they have for the Hell Creek, which I know is not accurate for the Hell Creek, but every time I see shots of like it's in South America, it's in Argentina or something like
Chile,
that.
I think.
Chile.
It's rad.
Chile.
It's so
It's
cool.
really
It's
cool.
with the monkey puzzle trees or
Yeah.
whatever they are and stuff.
Yeah.
Every time I see that, I'm like, Cretaceous North America. I'm like, it's not. That's not what it looked like. 65 did it better. But
That sentence has never been said before, actually.
No,
You've just that's the code word you use to activate the sleeper agent.
I
It's
don't
like
know
the
if you've seen
Italian
it.
family at the next table sure is being quiet. Like it's just my God, 65 did it better. Jesus.
am I wrong?
No, you're not
No.
wrong.
No, you're not. I don't know if you've seen it, and I wish I could remember who to attribute it to at this point, but someone right now on Twitter is going through and they're posting threads of all of the known filming locations. They started with like the Walking With series of like monsters, dinosaurs,
Super cool.
beasts, and then they've gone and done it now for like The Future Is Wild and all
Cool.
like the Spec Evo documentaries and like
Oh, you posted
Alien
this in the
Planet
group
and
chat a
stuff.
while ago.
I think I did. So we could link it in the video if we want. There's some actually pretty informative threads about like, hey, where'd they film this? It's like Fern Canyon is like a really famous location. That's where they shot the baby Diplodocus and the Stegosaurus in Walking With Dinosaurs.
Where's that?
I think it's in California or it's somewhere in the Pacific Northwest. I'm pretty sure.
Cool.
Because that place, oh my God, if you've never been there, like fucking Fern Central, it's one of the most beautiful places I've ever been. It's just so lush and green.
Yeah,
So-
I'd love to go there. So, should we talk about dinosaurs in this trailer? So the first thing is obviously the hatzegopteryx segment, which
How did you
is
just pronounce that?
hatzegopteryx.
Really? Is that how it's pronounced? I've
I-
always said Hatzegopteryx.
I think it's Hatchik.
Oh.
Yeah.
Do we have evidence of this sexual dimorphism?
No, we
I
don't. We barely have evidence of Hatzegopteryx.
We barely have evidence of pterosaurs.
It's cool.
We
Yeah.
don't have a skull of it, do we?
No.
I don't
Oh, God.
believe so.
Let me see.
Let's hang on. Let me Google it before we make an ass out of ourselves.
Are we about to
I
learn
like-
very upsetting things?
I like the sandy tropical island chain stuff. It looks good.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It's so
It's-
pretty.
I guess whenever I think about like the European, like the late Cretaceous European shallow seas and like all this Romanian stuff, I'm picturing, which in my head is much cooler, like the Romanian mountains, just an entire island, like some Dracula shit,
Yeah,
and
we
like
got
just covered in pine forests. But I guess they would be
very
tropical.
We have
Yes.
some skull material.
very scant though.
Yeah.
But yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. So, I mean, sexual dimorphism, for those not in the know, is just the trait differences between males and females of a species. It's often discussed just in terms of body size. There's almost no species known for which they're the same. Usually males are larger, but there are some species where females are larger. That seems to be
Red-tailed hawk.
Well, right. So it seems to be something about egg mass because it happens
Hmm.
most commonly in birds of prey that I think are laying relatively large eggs compared to their body size. So the females need to be larger to still fly when they're pregnant. And it also happens in a lot of
Oh.
snakes, which
Mm.
I don't know quite what's going on there. But so that's pretty ubiquitous.
I was going to say, what about kiwis? But then you said fly.
Right. What we're seeing here is sexual dimorphism in trait presence, which is that the male's got this really big, elaborate crest and the female doesn't.
Well, we're assuming, but yes.
Right. I mean, it's almost certainly what it is.
Right.
And that's an interesting hypothesis here. I could tell us in the comments if you want to make a video about me, or if you want us to make a video about me speculating about sexual dimorphism styles. In brief, this would indicate a female choice bird-like system where the males are displaying for females, rather than what seems to be a more primitive style where like males fight for the right to mate, which is seen in a lot of mammals but is not very common in birds. In crocodilians, there's kind of a hybrid, but already males start bellowing a lot, and they seem to be displaying for females, so it's not unreasonable to assume that all archosaurs, so birds and crocodiles are archosaurs, everything that's between them everything that's between them phylogenetically might have inherited this sort of a system. So it makes a lot of sense to show pterosaurs doing this, even though
Yeah.
there's no direct evidence.
But also, like, it is, I guess, right, it's a reasonable inference, but also we know that, like, sexual display, like, how animals display sexually can vary, like, incredibly.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but also like presence or absence of a crest is something that has been proposed many times, specifically in pterosaurs. With Pteranodon is the
Yeah.
famous example that there are some seemingly crestless Pteranodon, and they've been interpreted as females.
Yeah. But I buy completely.
which
Yeah, I think that's one of the few examples where it holds up.
That paper is incredibly based. If you allow me a small digression, the paper that describes sexual dimorphism in Pteranodon, and it's just in Pteranodon longiceps or longipes, I don't remember.
It's longiceps.
Longiceps. Although I think it might also be seen in Geosternbergia, but the paper describes it in longipes. Longiceps, Jesus. Is that, so there's the Pteranodons, they have a little nubbin, or they've got a really long banana crest, right? And the paper goes through, it's like, hey, we have all these individuals, and there's kind of a 50-50 split. And also the ones that have the short crest have a larger pelvic cavity. And it's like, okay, these are all great inferences. And then they present a graph. They're like, we graphed them, and here's the distribution. Like, here's the graph of Pteranodons. It's like, ooh. And then in the discussion, they're like, we don't need to do any statistics on this. And they cite a paper where it's like, if like sample set is very clearly bimodal to the point where you can observe it to be bimodal, any statistical test will prove that it's bimodal, and there's no point in doing it. And so they're basically it's like, just look at it. We don't need to do statistics, just look at it, which would never fly in a paper today, but I really love.
I respect it.
Our rationale is
right. Have you seen it?
It's like, duh.
There.
So anyway, this is a cool inference, and we see the behavior with there's clearly a courtship ritual going on, and the male's displaying for the female, and then they nuzzle, and I assume that means that she likes him back.
What I think is even cooler is that's not all that's happening here. If you look at some of the shots, some of the wide shots before she lands, that
oh my god, it's a bower.
He's also made a bower, and if you look right in front of him, that's a dead dinosaur. He brought a gift too.
Oh, that's great.
He's
got.
God.
Look at all these sticks I got.
Look at this
right.
stuff.
Do you want? You want blue?
I love their tails. Like
you want blue.
You can see their little like
she don't
fluffy,
want blue.
tiny, stupid tails.
That's very good.
So like this isn't just a display like we see in this isn't just some regular bird display. This is more like either a bowerbird or a bird of paradise, where part of the display is also setting up the arena around them, which I like a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I like it aesthetically. Cool. It seems unlikely given that their brains are very small.
Their brains aren't.
They're big animals, though.
Yeah, they're big animals, and in terms of construction, like pterodactyloids have enlarged cerebrums like a lot of extant birds.
But to the same degree?
Yeah, I think they're incredibly, surprisingly big.
Really?
Not in like rhamphorhynchids, where they're still enlarged, but if I remember correctly, like pterodactyloids have some pretty noticeable encephalization.
All right. Well, you know what? I'm happy to be wrong.
You can double check that.
No, I mean, I trust you.
Figure I saw.
I've never really looked into their brains that strongly.
If anything, my criticism for this, air quotes criticism, would be, I wonder if that little dino he's got there would possibly be a little bit too large for him to fly with.
Mm.
Maybe he walked with it.
Yeah, carried it out. So is that something that birds do? I know the kind of offering is common in insects and arachnids, I guess. But is that something we know birds do?
Yeah, birds do it.
I like it.
Oh, yeah. It's something that mammals do too. Actually, I've seen this firsthand. When I was in South Africa on a photo safari a while ago, the first thing we saw when we went out for the first time was a male cheetah on a kill that had eaten everything but the back legs of an impala, and was specifically waiting for it. Was just a little bit after the female had gone into heat, and it was like, oh look, you got her dinner. And that is nice. One of the pieces that they generally prefer, so he was saving it for her.
That's very sweet. It's actually a pretty widely distributed behavior in mammals as well. So a couple of years ago, I was on vacation in Europe, and I was at a cafe outside. It was kind of like twilight hours, and all of a sudden I heard this really loud commotion, and I looked over, and there was a human male on one knee presenting a human female with a beautiful gift. And she said yes, and he gave her a nice rock.
Did she eat the rock?
She did not eat the rock. This is to say,
Gizzard stones.
there's a pretty substantial, and this is something that is very interesting to read about. Like, I think in the behavioral or in the animal ethology world, there's kind of a refrainment. Ethology is the study of animal behavior.
Oh, I
Yeah.
hadn't heard that word before.
There's kind of a refrainment from applying human conditions to animals, and similarly in trying to like track things back. And I think sometimes if you look at it broadly, you can see that like while humans have layered on a lot of culture, the fundamental behavior is still present.
Yeah.
Like I was talking with somebody recently, Josh Hedge, who's a member of my lab at NC State, and he was talking about how male emus have been documented to like anytime they see a nest of eggs, they will start incubating them. Like it's a reflexive behavior. And we were talking about how weird it was, and at some point I was like, it's not that just like almost all human beings will reflexively help a child in need. Like if they see like a child on like alone, they will go over and ask what's wrong. And so like obviously there's a lot of layers there and there's a big difference. But I think having these sorts of everything okay, Dalton?
Yes, it just sounded like a herd of elephants was traipsing on the roof, but
maybe the hunks are on the roof.
Hey, Skeleton Crew fans. It's our first episode without Amelia, and we immediately go into Jordan Peterson Evo Psych territory.
We did not go into Evo Psych territory. Oh my god.
Consider the lobster.
Yeah, listen, consider if you will the hatzegopteryx.
I love the sound design of them clacking their beaks and then kind of smacking each other's faces. It's really good. And
I like the little display that they do here. You know, I like the neck up, which is apparently a pretty common posture in archosaurs.
I also really like that this male is in distinctive breeding coloration. That we saw a male hatzegopteryx in last season as well, and he didn't look like this. He was a whole lot drabber. Still had the crest and everything, but he didn't have the big stripe of blue on over his big monofenestra there, and the bright red on the front of the crest.
That coloration's beautiful.
Oh, it's
very
stunning.
I'd say yes to this bower if I saw that coloration.
Oh, you can see the little dino there too, right on the ground.
I really want to pet them.
It's some rhabdodon, right?
What if it's a balaur?
Maybe?
Okay, that is something I would love to see in this.
We only see balaur, and
I want to see balaur.
The context of it being dead in front of a hatzegopteryx while it's trying to fuck.
Let's not get stunlocked in the first 10 minutes.
Okay, yeah.
That's a good idea.
10 seconds. All right, so there's some water. Here's some more sexual display. They're hanging out.
Right. So then
we
got.
I don't want to go too fast because these things come and go like in seconds.
I'm literally just scrubbing.
Awesome and cool.
So do you think this is going to be Deccan traps?
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah.
Right.
I wonder if we'll get a little bit more into the extinction things in season 2.
For those not in the know.
Go ahead. Sorry, Dalton.
Yeah, at the end of the Cretaceous in India, what's happening is these what are called flood basalts are being deposited. Flood basalts are essentially these gigantic, like kind of almost unfathomable because we've never seen anything like them as a human.
Thank God.
Volcanic rift systems opening up and just spewing out tons and tons of lava. These aren't like explosive eruptions. So, I mean, in theory, you could kind of live around them and not just expire from volcanic death, but you wouldn't want to. But there are these big gas and lava being spewed out, and they leave behind these big, massive deposits of basalt that are called flood basalts. We see another similar system called the Siberian traps, which are deposited at the end of the Permian and are invoked in the end Permian extinction. And so there's been, because the Deccan traps are being deposited at the end of the Cretaceous, and they coincide roughly with actually the end of the Cretaceous, like they're 66 million years old, plus minus, that maybe they had a role in the extinction, but they probably didn't. The asteroid is so clearly the destructive force. I'm going to take credit for an analogy I made because I like it, which I agree with the research that's pointing out that there wasn't a decline in dinosaur diversity towards the end of the Cretaceous. I don't think there was. But even if there was, if you imagine aliens invading the Earth during the time of the Roman Empire, it doesn't matter if they invade at the height of the empire or during its decline, it's just so devastating that they're going to destroy it no matter what. And that's the meteor. Like, it's just an unfathomable amount of destruction.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it is literally impossible to imagine what it would have been like. We're talking about hundreds of miles of land area with every organism in them vaporized immediately. Like, it dwarfs a nuclear explosion.
Like,
Yeah,
when
it's
like
insane.
dwarfs is almost not giving it enough credit. I think that there was a Kurzgesagt video a while ago that did some fun analogies of like how devastating the meteor was that killed the dinosaurs, and it was something like if you were to reconstruct Manhattan out of TNT, like every building and everything, just make it entirely out of TNT and detonate the whole thing like a couple hundred times, that's roughly equivalent to it, and it's like,
Right.
So bad.
what?
It broke through the entire Earth's crust and exposed the mantle. Like, the
It
mantle
broke new ground.
It literally broke
As he
new ground.
grabs the camera.
Anyway,
to say though, it's cool
yeah.
to see the Deccan traps.
well, right, because they would have been around at this time. And, like,
Yeah.
what is worth noting is, like, indisputably, these massive volcanic eruptions affect Earth's climate.
Yes.
Oh my god, yes.
Right, like, the debate has not been whether this mattered. The debate is whether this was part of why the dinosaurs went extinct.
These are also
Perhaps.
as Dalton also mentioned, these are something that have caused previous mass extinctions. The end Triassic, I think, is also associated with some flood basalts. Isn't that where we get the Palisades from?
The camp is often invoked.
Right,
Central Atlantic magmatic province, for those not to know, camp.
right,
It's from the breakup of Pangea.
right.
Now I have a wild hypothesis.
What's that?
So we know, right? Well, we don't know. Currently, the dinosaurs known from India from the end of the Cretaceous are very limited. We have some ceratosaurians, and we have ceratosaurs, not ceratosaurians, and we have gigantic sauropods. And perhaps there are no small dinosaurs at all or ornithischians because the sauropods had their heads up so they wouldn't choke on gas.
But why
this
does
is a
this
joke
one have a shorter
for
neck
those
then?
Who don't. This is a joke. I'm making a joke, Scott.
Look at this little raptor thing here. So what is this? Because it wasn't in the previous show.
This is a troodontid. The big one's a troodontid. The other things are birds. The toe claw is small and reduced, which is the main way to distinguish troodontids from dromaeosaurs externally. Also,
What
the
kind of
head
birds are
shape.
these?
That's
They-
what. Are they presbyornis?
So I've seen a lot of talk about them being presbyornis themes, but presbyornis isn't known from the Mesozoic.
Right.
But there is a Mongolian presbyornithine called teviornis. And so it could be that, which I think is known from like an arm. And so they could just be basing the rest of the appearance of it off of presbyornis. Someone also suggested maybe like Vegavis.
This doesn't look like Vegavis.
But I don't, yeah, I'm
Mm-mm.
more inclined to think that it's,
And Vegavis is from Antarctica, right?
yes.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised if this is Mongolia.
I
These
think
are-
I think it's Mongolia, given the vaguely desert environment, and I would guess that these are. What's the Mongolian presbyornithine?
Teviornis.
Teviornis. So I would guess that that's Teviornis. My
Also,
current.
James, could you get us a better like screen?
What do you mean? Of the bird or of,
Just like
that?
Yeah, that's a better shot.
Nice.
That is really good. Yeah.
Cute.
I am guessing that the troodontid is zanabazar.
Oh, could be, yeah.
Which is a lot. I think a lot of people assume it's Jadocta, and I certainly used to, because it was described by Mark Norell and the team from the AMNH, which mostly works on Jadocta formation stuff. But Zanabazar was not actually found by the AMNH teams in Mongolia. It was found in the 80s by Mongolian teams and was re-described and re-diagnosed. It was originally considered Sornithoides. Long story short, it's from the Nemet. It's Maastrichtian.
It's got a really long head like that.
It does have a long head like that. In fact, the only relatively complete derived troodontid skull that is currently published.
Tyrannosaurus is
Zanabazar.
all right.
Well, I don't consider that a derived troodontid. That's pretty intermediate. I mean, it's not a Sinovenatorine or anything. Like, it's not one of the basal lineage, but it's not that derived. And it's also pretty aberrant. This
It
looks
looks
a
pretty
lot
big,
like
too.
the head of Zanabazar. Zanabazar, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a large animal. It's not small.
I always think of pterodontids being small, but then
too.
like I know that there's like that Prince Creek one that's relatively large.
Well, there's a kind of convergent trend with some of the Asian troodontids towards like kind of dromaeosaur stuff.
Right. Well, I mean, also that presupposes that the troodontids we find there are Asian originally. I don't know what's going to shake down because we get those derived troodontids kind of pop up on both sides of the Pacific at about the same time. I've heard them called colloquially macrotroodontids. But like Troodon seems to be very closely related to Zanabazar. Zanabazar is always the head reconstruction we use for Troodon a lot of the time. Nowadays. Sauroornithoides is part of that clade, and it's a little bit older, so that might indicate an Asian origin, which might mean that you get Troodon again in North America from a back migration. But it's also possible, we have things that are referred to Troodon from the Campanians, so it's possible they originate in North America and move over. It's a complicated thing.
Our understanding of the fossil record at this point is so incomplete that it's a fool's errand to attempt to investigate.
Yes, that's maybe a better way to put it. In any case, I think this is Zanabazar.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Next,
which is
next
cool.
creature.
It looks pretty. I like it. I like the ruddy coloration.
Very,
right.
very pretty.
So now we have
5 epic knights.
We have this.
Oh, that's a hesperornis.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I did a little bit of digging into this beforehand because I was pretty sure that Hesperornis itself was a little bit too old for the Maastrichtian that they always that they choose for this, and it is. Also, I guess a little bit of background before we talk specifics. The Hesperornithines were this group of kind of like flightless cormorant looking, like almost penguin-y sort of flightless marine diving birds. Almost all of them are known from marine sediments. There's a couple from freshwater, but they were seeming like really well adapted for swimming and diving after fish. And the one we have here, while it might not be Hesperornis itself, is definitely a Hesperornithine.
Yeah. Well, they're also
big.
They're big, and they have little dinky wings, and so it looks like they're foot-propelled swimmers, like a loon or something.
Yeah,
Or
like a
penguin.
Like a cormorant, maybe?
Or a loon. Loon's a really good analogy for them as well.
Yeah.
They're also toothy.
Right.
Yeah,
Tooth
they're one of the last groups of tooth birds, aren't they?
Yeah.
The last group?
They're just outside the crown.
So
and we mean like true tooth birds, not like things that you get with like Pelagornis and stuff where they're pseudo tooth birds.
They're Ichthyornis and its relatives are a little closer to the crown than Hesperornis. I kind of confuse those sometimes, but
yeah. In any case, cool thing to find in the trailer.
Bird.
Scott, what are the terrible names of the ones that live in the Maastrichtian? They're all hard to say.
So I was looking. Well, some of them are hard to say, and some of them are just bad. Because I was looking up some of these earlier, just like what could you be? And in particular, the two ones that were, it could be Potamornis, which is from the Lance Formation, which that one's not bad. The worst ones are Asia Hesperornis.
Come on. I'm not even trying.
And
not even Asiato Hesperornis, just Asia Hesperornis.
Asia Hesperornis.
Asia Hesperornis.
Hey, what you got there, Dirk? Asia Hesperornis. We're from Asia.
We found a Hesperornis in Asia. What do we call it?
Well, it's like in Oviraptorosaurs, there's this is a short digression, I promise. There's the canignathed called Canignathus, right? Mm-hmm. That's the name of the group. Mm-hmm. And it's from North America. And there's an Asian one from Kazakhstan, I think. And its name, I don't think this is the etymology, but its name is Canignathasia. Like, I can't not laugh when I type it.
The last one is that there's one, I'll let you guess where it's from, called Canadaga.
It cannot.
Canada.
All right. I've
Canada.
expended too much brain energy on this bird. Next creature.
Okay, well here we have
a baby.
We have a baby.
So is this a baby dromaeosaur?
It is. It is actually very inaccurate scientifically because this implies that there is a baby velociraptor known from the fossil record, and
There is not.
There is not. One has never been found, despite the fact that we would like it to. Look how cute it is. It bumps into its mom's foot.
Bonk.
Really cute.
It's,
we do have
I would
small
kill
dozen- okay,
1,000 men for this individual animal. Look at its eyes.
And I would help you.
He's a very cute little guy.
Right. If I had to cause the extinction of humankind itself, I would. He needs to be protected. He's probably going to die horribly on screen, given the track record of this show.
Prehistoric Planet.
And I don't
That's one thing that happens is there's a lot of pterosaurs and babies die.
He's a cutie, but I would also like to direct our attention to that leg looks so fucking real.
Yeah, it's really
Oh my
good.
god, it does.
Yeah, it's the fine details like that I think Prehistoric Planet often aces the most. Like just showing a close-up of something and have it look so textural.
Just the textures, it's like whatever kind of like subsurface scattering they do. It's just
I feel like I know what it would feel like if I touched it.
yeah, like you can reach out and grab that.
Like, I'm still kind of not over the fact that the dinosaurus shots in the original one apparently did not have any practical feather rigs that they used. Like,
He's a cutie.
Unreal.
He's a cutie.
Now there are small Deinonychus, right?
Yes. They're they're very fragmentary.
But there are some bones of what are likely small dromaeosaur, young baby, little babes.
Well, yeah, and I mean, Bambi Raptor's a juvenile, and that's...
Right.
Utah Raptor.
Well, maybe. It depends on what happens with the block.
With the block. The block provides.
The block provides.
Block provides.
What is it? Wait, I have one more thing to say, Alex. I'm sorry. What is interesting is that we don't have juvenile dromaeosaurs from the Gobi locations, which are often, like, they provide so many juveniles of other groups. It is kind of weird that we haven't found a baby dromaeosaur yet.
I bet we will someday.
I think so.
Maybe they're literally building their nests like 300 feet away.
Right, and they're just not being fossilized.
Maybe they were upland animals.
They're smart enough to know not to build their nest at the base of a sand dune.
Right. They were like, we're gonna build it at the top.
They see all the oviraptors having their nests fucking buried, and they're like, we're not gonna. No.
Yeah.
Honey, we're gonna go build over.
There are things we can assume about their nesting behavior based on troodontids and oviraptorosaurs.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh no, and I'm not, when I say it's weird, I'm not saying like there's a pattern here that I'm trying to imply. I'm just like, I'm just kind of surprised we haven't found it yet.
Mm-hmm.
Next creature.
Next creature.
Predator.
It's an elasmosaur.
Next creature. It's fine. It's probably the same one as before.
It's probably Tuarangisaurus. I was looking through and trying to see what other, because elasmosaurs aren't super well known at the Maastrichtian. Although
Styxosaurus?
No, Styxosaurus is Campanian.
I feel like you're wrong and lying to me.
You can check, but I'm not.
Because remember, it's not from the Hell Creek. It's from a creek named Hell Creek.
It's from a creek named Hell Creek. It's Western Interior Seaway. It's the same as like Pteranodon and stuff like that. It was a contemporary with Elasmosaurus. Fucking check me.
Hey, if you guys want to hear more about Styxosaurus, remember to subscribe to our channel and hit the little bell, because we recorded a video on Styxosaurus a couple of days ago, and it will be released at some point in the future. So,
watch that video.
Watch it when it comes out.
Alberta nectes is from the Bear Paw Formation, which Wikipedia tells me is Campanian to Maastrichtian. So
what I found in my little search was that there are a ton of Maastrichtian elasmosaurs from both New Zealand and Antarctica.
Yeah,
which is pretty neat. And if we had some sequences showing some more diverse groups of elasmosaurs, of like how we had all the Moroccan pterosaurs in the last season, if we had the Antarctic elasmosaurs, that would be kind of cool.
Yeah,
I'd like that.
It'd be neat. I don't want to talk about the elasmosaur that much.
Tuarangisaurus is from New Zealand.
Yes, it is.
Right. My guess is it's
Tuarangisaurus.
I can't say a word. I'm so tired. My guess is that it's Tuarangisaurus again, but I don't know.
Probably.
Next.
Check in with like the pod.
Right. Which I didn't know that there was any social behavior evidence in elasmosaurs. I was very surprised by that.
There's evidence?
Maybe not.
Okay. Next.
Nanuqsaurus is back.
Oh, a maxilla adenary. Cool.
Oh, it's less than that. Well, there's also
Isn't
a little
it
bit of
just
a
a-
frontal.
Isn't it just a denery? Oh,
No.
Never mind.
There's a tiny flake of maxilla and a tiny flake of frontal parietal. I forget which,
Cool.
or maybe both.
But it looks stunning. Just as stunning as it did last
looks good.
season.
It's a
That's beautiful.
great design. He's
Tyrannosaur is cool.
He's now eating easier prey. He's learned since the last season when he was hunting pachyrhinosaurs for no reason. He was like, I could hunt these things that don't fight back. And that's good.
Although they are fast.
We call that character development.
Got an arc.
Right. Now, we've got this guy.
He's so cute.
So we got
He's
this
eating
little
flies?
We got the little guy. It looks like he's running. He's like ram feeding through a group of gnats, which is incredible. Pursuant to Alex's question, based on the small teeth, it must be a troodontid, but I don't know
Yeah.
what
So many
troodontid
small
it is.
teeth.
Now here's a question I have. Do we think that's a log or some kind of crocodilian in the water behind it?
Ooh.
I'd very much like it to be a crocodile.
So it'll probably be a log.
God damn.
Or
it.
is that even water, or is this like a mirage?
This whole thing is a mirage.
I
We
don't know,
don't
like
exist.
the swarm of flies makes me think it's probably some drying water body or some coastal thing.
Well, yeah, I could see that. I also wonder if it's because in that shot with the troodontid that was eating the birds earlier, it really almost reminds me of like Mono Lake, like these incredibly salty inland bodies of water. It has are those hoodoos or whatever they're called that are poking up out, and it really reminded me of that. And I know that like brine flies are a thing.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Skip forward. Just put it forward a little. I want to see if I can see its feet.
I don't think you can kind of behind the
Flies.
More.
flies.
The sea of flies.
More.
I
All right,
can
it
see
looks
them.
like a troodontid.
It is definitely a troodontid. I mean, those teeth. This is the other way to tell them apart. Troodontids tend to have supernumerary teeth. So they've got a lot of
And a little
teeth and they're
bit.
little. Yeah,
James, fun fact: do you know how to do frame by frame on YouTube?
I don't.
Okay. It's on your keyboard. It's comma and period. Does frame forward and frame back.
Well,
That's good
we
to
all
know.
learned something today.
It looks like it's like gliding across.
This is remarkable. Anyway, definitely a troodontid. I'm looking at a list of
Corral.
troodontid taxa right now to cross-reference where they're all from. What I think this could wind up being, perhaps, is
Almost?
It-
No.
no. Well, it could be. I mean, if they're going back into the Campanian to get stuff, which they did for Velociraptor, right? It's widely known in paleo circles. Velociraptor is technically not from this time period. There are things that are very closely related and very similar enough that we know that the corporate decision was made to just call it Velociraptor for recognizability, which is fine. This could be
It's just a little
Almas.
guy.
It could be Almas. I'm thinking it might wind up being Philovenator,
So
which is
My-
I don't pronounce Philovenator because it's Philovenator Curryi. It's named after Phil Curry.
shut the fuck up.
Is it really?
Yeah,
Philovenator,
Philovenator
the
Curryi.
hunter of Phils.
We have meeting after meeting about what to name new things, and people are out here just like,
Well, it's like
So-
Magnapolia, which might be my favorite dinosaur
Big
of all time.
Paul.
Big Paul. We've got
It's so-
it's like, what do we name it? Asia Hesperornis.
All right, next
So,
critter.
no, not yet. Because so I found cope. So I found out that I might be a little bit more on point with this than I previously thought, because everybody check chat right now, because this is a thing that happens at the Great Salt Lake.
Oh my god.
Wow.
So it's a Mormon troodontid, huh? I like
next one's
I
a-
like him.
It's a
it's-
cool
keep going.
behavior to show.
We got
Quetz.
Quetzalcoatlus is yelling.
All right. We don't really
And-
need to talk about another as dark.
No, we don't.
No, but I mean, it's cool to see Cats and Rex have a little bit of a
And look at those jaw muscles.
standoff.
I
He's a
really
hungster.
T-Rex.
Can we see the palette?
we
Advance
can't.
a couple frames,
Oh,
James.
I
Oh,
hit the wrong
is
button.
that it?
It
No.
was almost it. We had 3 more frames.
But look at those jaw muscles.
Also,
holy shit.
As people have pointed out, look at the carcass behind them. That's probably the Alamosaurus
Definitely Alamosaurus.
that has been confirmed to be in this season, apparently from a museum display somewhere.
That's very funny.
But Jimbo, we don't find Alamosaurus in the Hell Creek.
Oh my god. Well, there's 2 possibilities here. One is there are certainly Tyrannosaur fossils from the southern United States that are from the same time as T-Rex and are probably T-Rex. They've been suggested at many times to be something else. I don't think that has ever really held up. It's also possible that Alamosaurus lived in the Hell Creek and we just haven't found one yet, considering that we're finding new things there all the time. There's no reason to assume we would have needed to, especially if it was toward the geographic north terminus of its range. It would have been less common there. There's all sorts of things you can invoke about it, but all I'm saying is that we don't really know that it wasn't part of the ecosystem. You can invoke almost any explanation for why it hasn't been found.
Well, I don't know why it wouldn't be found. Titanosaur fossils are notoriously common
Right.
and well preserved.
Right. There's one thing I want to say about the T-Rex, which is I have kind of gone on record as that I did not love the way the T-Rex looked in season 1. And I doubt that the model has changed, but here I like the way it looks. I don't know if it's just rendered differently and lit differently, but I like it. It looks cool.
It looks like it doesn't have eyes.
Which I like better.
They're like sunk in. This
It's almost certainly just where you paused it.
Right. No, I think
Yeah.
so. Great design.
I don't know if we've voiced this, but this is something we've said amongst ourselves, which is I don't know if it's even worth voicing this and getting yelled at.
Just say it.
The kind of the trend of that's kind of emerged with a lot of dinosaur reconstruction, which is just like, what if it was fat everywhere? What if the underlying what if, we could just pretend that doesn't inform the reconstruction and I can draw this as a tube? That's all.
When
Yeah.
you said tube.
I don't. I mean, I am on the record of not liking that trend. I don't totally get it from the prehistoric planet T-Rex.
No,
it
it's
might be a
it's,
bit
it's honestly
chunky for my taste, but
it's whatever.
I mean, T-Rex is a pretty massive animal.
yeah. Mhm.
Like, there's really no way around it. I personally don't know if I think that the limb proportions here are quite right, but that's because different specimens vary. And the
Might
way
also
you
be a
articulate...
perspective thing.
It's sometimes a perspective thing, and the way you articulate the bones vary. It makes it vary. Like, if you make this a much more erect posture in the hind limb animal, you're going to give it a lot more ground clearance. It's not going to look this chunky.
Mhm.
And there's debate over how straight-limbed an animal like T-Rex would have been. It's getting to the realm where you might expect it to have a straight leg like an elephant.
Yeah, because
Right.
it's just
Right,
so
a-
big.
Right. I mean, and that's kind of how the Museum of the Rockies mounted MOR 980, Montana's T-Rex. It's a much straighter limb proportion. And that's why that thing is one of the largest dinosaur specimens, theropod specimens in particular, I've ever been in a room with. Right, I'll
And
put
that's
up...
why you couldn't give yourself a concussion on its pubis.
Right, it's literally above my head.
Next organism.
That's not that
There's
bad.
no more
There's
organisms.
no. It's just, yeah.
I bet
That's
I
it?
could get
Oh, wait, no,
myself a
there is an
concussion.
organism after this.
Oh right. Yes. Oh.
The
frog.
organism.
The Mud Buddies.
good.
This is, ladies and gentlemen, the organism.
I thought I saw pictures of Stygimoloch on Twitter.
Oh, we can
You
go to the
did.
website. Yes.
You did, and I'll go
Yes.
there next. It's only on the Apple TV preview. It's not on the trailer.
Not for us plebeian YouTube users.
Yes.
Right.
Oh, I don't think we actually mentioned before, but the sauropod is almost certainly rapetosaurus.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just gonna let it play through because I like to see the whole sequence play out.
I'm still not over the size
Right.
of those jaw muscle there, or those jaw muscle bulges in the throat of the T-Rex. That's just the
I mean,
coolest fucking thing.
T-Rex was T-Rex is so played out in pop culture, I think we do lose perspective on just how overbuilt it is relative to any other tyrannosaur. It is absolutely absurdly massive.
Built different.
Built different. And I think that that's like you'd get a similar sense of jaw muscle construction that you do from modern crocodilians, except it's like what how much heavier? 20 times heavier?
Many times.
Oh my god, yeah.
20, 30
Yeah.
times as massive. I mean, just unreal. Anyway, this scene is delightful. I love that the little frog is scaring the big sauropod.
Mhm.
I like a good frog.
So there's this deleted clip that's only available like when you have the auto playing trailer on Apple TV, but it shows an additional dinosaur, which is nice. And yeah, we got
Bonk.
bonking.
Bonk.
They bonk.
They bonk.
They bonk.
So this could be Stygimoloch. This could be Pachycephalosaurus or a young Pachycephalosaurus.
Based on the size of the spikes, I'm almost tempted to say they're just doing Pachycephalosaurus and kind of ignoring the debate.
Possible.
Or just saying that they had more keratin.
Well, right, because I mean, this doesn't look unreasonable. Like if you continue Pachycephalosaurus closer adults
Mhm.
back.
Now, what does look unreasonable?
Yeah, they should have skin cheeks. I will die on this hill. They should have
But
them.
what if they didn't?
What if food just fell out of their mouth?
Right.
They have lips, though.
What if they
Isn't it
had?
good they have lips?
They do have lips. They should also have.
See, okay,
Hey,
what is
just
it?
because we have evidence that other ornithischians does, and that's literally all we can go off of, doesn't mean. And there's a buccal emargination, and that the teeth rows are inset. I think you're being a little premature.
I like the way his whole spine.
Yeah, look at his
levels
like.
with just a bonk and just the getting pushed back. They did the force here.
It's a
very well.
wave going down its
Yeah.
entire
I am a
back.
little disappointed that this stuff was probably that this is going to come out before some very cool Pachycephalosaur
Yeah.
research that I would really love to see in a documentary like this.
Yeah.
That was some stuff at SVP is all I'll say, but yeah,
Was some of that published on Twitter?
We shouldn't.
I think
talked about on
the
Twitter?
talk was discussed. The talk was discussed on Twitter, but I don't want
But
to.
yeah, we shouldn't.
Yeah, we're not going to spoil anything, but
We
it
don't
is
tell
cool.
tales.
It's very cool.
Right. So this gets to maybe the last segment of the video, thank God. Which is, what do we want to see? And I guess we'll preface this by saying it's been all but confirmed that all of this stuff was animated prior to season 1 dropping or shortly after season 1 dropped. My personal suspicion is that Apple wanted to save on the rendering costs and so wanted to wait to see if this gained traction before they approved the second half of the footage.
You did.
Right, which it gained a lot of traction. It also makes sense because the first season was 5 episodes and then this one's 5, and I feel like a 10-episode series would have made more sense if it was considered to be a one-off.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
maybe splitting it in half was planned later. As a result, we're seeing a lot of the same animals again. Right? There's like,
Yeah,
what do we have? 3 or 4 confirmed new things in the trailer?
Yeah.
Including
More than
this.
that. Right. Well, 5 or 6 maybe if you include like a
two
little
new theropods, two new sauropods.
Two
Two
pterodontids,
pterosaur.
two troodontids, 2 birds, 2 sauropods, so that's 6, and then this, right?
And then 7, yeah.
7 at least, and that's just in the trail. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
It is pretty good, although
Two
so
birds? What's the other bird?
there's the
hesperornis thing and the
Oh, yeah.
Present
Yeah.
thing.
Scott, please pay attention. It's really, honestly, it's kind of unprofessional of you.
Sorry,
Just
guys.
fucking with you.
I'm
So
sorry you
all
have
right.
to see that.
All right,
So-
not enough waffling. What do we want to see?
well, yeah, what do we want to see? Alex, you've pushed this topic of conversation. What do you want to see?
I want to see 2 things. One is a kind of framing device, and one is a thing. And I don't think I'll get one of them, and I might get the other.
You're almost certainly not going to get a framing device because they said 5 new locations.
God damn it. Okay. So one of the weaknesses in the first episode that I saw and that other people inform me is present through all the episodes and is really only one of the real criticisms I have about the show, because it looks great and the sounds are great and the music's great and it's a good show. It's great. But I do kind of, I dislike how it's just kind of like animals doing things from other documentaries, sometimes very clearly. And there's not like a narrative. There's not like a good narrative story. You don't follow like one thing and it kind of encounters a few. And those stories can be a little contrived, but I think they make a better lasting impression.
Like Walking with Dinosaurs.
Exactly.
Yes, like Walking with Dinosaurs, which is based in good. Also great.
Correct.
It's dated, obviously, and this looks much better, and the designs are much better and all that. But there's kind of a narrative element and kind of this really grand epic story to each one, and you're like, wow, this is about the fall of the Pseudotsuchians. This is about giant dinosaurs. This is about blah 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
this is about a very horny old man.
Yes,
right. Walking with Dinosaurs ran so Prehistoric Planet could walk.
Oh,
that's hard.
I don't want to be that,
Spicy.
I'll cut that.
No, you don't have to. You're cool. My second take is that there are a lot of locations in the show that appear to be in Gondwana or Gondwanaland, or the continents that were part of it. So we have like India, and we have Madagascar. And in the last season, we had South America.
And we had a plesiosaur from New Zealand.
Yeah.
Right. And we had the coasts of Africa, too.
But it was the north coast of Africa.
Sure. But you catch my point here is that there's an incredibly important and diverse fauna missing that was widespread across Gondwana, which are Notosuchians.
Across Gondwana.
We don't have any Notosuchians. There are no little little or big or weird crocodilomorphs in the show, and it makes me very sad.
They could easily do Sinosaucus in Madagascar, and it's criminal.
He's just a little guy. Or like a Barasuchid in South America. I mean, like not in this season, but I'd like to see some croc love. Even some like other reptile, like some squamates or stuff. Just all right, so that's what I'd like to see.
All right. I am gonna ask a question. Considering that I've only seen the first episode of season 1. That's the one you don't have to even sign up for a trial to watch.
Also, I'm going to move again. So.
Do they have Edmontosaurus at all?
They do.
In the show?
A lot.
Okay. I mean, I guess I think I recall it being in the Polar episode. Do they have it in the Hell Creek?
No. Kind of, maybe.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do, because they have it in the. No, they don't have it in the Hell Creek. They have it in the Lance Formation with.
No, that's Horseshoe Canyon.
Horseshoe Canyon. They have it in the Horseshoe Canyon with Ankylosaurus after a forest fire.
Because I would like the Maastrichtian Edmontosaurus, aka Anatosaurus, aka Anatotitan, aka big. I want big Hadrosaur.
Big duck.
I would like big Hadrosaurus scaring T-Rex away. That would be fun. What I really would love to see is squamates. I mean, I'm a squamate researcher, so it goes without saying, but like the Cretaceous is the time in which we actually start to see all of the major squamate groups are represented in the fossil record at this point, and we see them starting to take over ecological dominance from the rhynchocephalians, that we actually start to find them in abundance. And there are several cool forms from locations that we could easily visit that are going to be here. There's big lizards like Paleosaniwa in the Hell Creek that is probably eating baby dinosaurs and is like a pan-rhinoid kind of thing. And we've got, very interestingly, in India, we've got Sanaja, which is one of the best early snakes, and we found it in the nests of titanosaurs, probably preying on the babies. And so we've seen baby isisaurus, because it is a saurus. We know that there are babies in the pre-render, so I would love to see Sanaja attacking the babies. And obviously they had mosasaurs, but I want more than the mosasaurs.
That was Alex's thing.
You got the coolest squamate, and I get
I don't care.
Not a single extinct crocodile.
Yeah, I got not a single extant clade of squamates.
There's actually one lizard in
one
episode
lizard,
2.
Yeah.
It's being chased by Velociraptor.
Like unnamed, probably like acrodontin, some kind of goby lizard. But like, there's tons of lizards from the goby. There's Esthesia. There's all kinds of early like varanoids and helodromatids from the goby. Like angry meat-eating lizards. Some of them possibly venomous. Would be really cool to see.
Yeah,
they got motherfucking turtles in the first season. They can't give us like. Sorry.
You'll get your Crocs one day, son.
No, I won't.
Scott, do you want to go?
Yeah. I'll do a similar thing of kind of like some general things and specific like groups of animals. I really like how the original season of Prehistoric Planet brought a lot of very out of the public eye animals to mainstream attention, like hatzegopteryx, specifically Mononicus. Everybody fell in love with Mononicus. They did a really good job of showing some of these more like weirdos in the last days of the dinosaur, and I would love to see a couple more of those. I know that we have a couple megaraptorans in the Maastrichtian, like the one that is it Meep?
I believe.
Or however you
I've always
pronounce
said
it.
Mape. But
Mape.
I might
I
be
think it's
wrong.
Mipe.
Mipe.
Mipe
like, I would-
macrothorax. The best name to say. It's got a big chest.
Big thorax.
Yeah.
So like some other weirdos. Oh yeah. In Noasaurids, like we had the Mashikasaurus, but like I would love to see a couple more of those. A couple of other just kind of strange oddball. Did we get? Okay, we didn't get that many Oviraptorosaurs as well. We only got
We got
Ornithoraptor.
Ornithoraptor. Yeah.
Yeah. I would also love to see more instances of we saw a bunch of hunts. We saw one of my favorite sequences, besides for an incredibly big aspect that almost pulls me out of the scene. One of my favorite sequences in the original show was the Dreadnoughtus fight. I thought that it was just like a biblical proportion, like clash of titans of these things. I hate the neck balloons with a burning passion, but everything else about it is incredible.
Yeah.
I want to see more interspecific combat. I would love to see some Triceratops or Pterosaurus like locking horns and fighting. Ankylosaurs bashing each other with the tail clubs. I mean, we're going to see Pachycephalosaurs button heads, which is fun. But just more, I don't know, more interesting behaviors in some of these animals, which it does seem like we are getting. Like I absolutely love the little troodontid eating brine flies like a seagull. But yeah.
Yeah, that's adorable. I'm very excited to love him very much.
Yeah. What I would like in the show is a little bit, I know I'm not going to get it, I can preface, because it's a little bit contra to what the show intends to do. I have personally never been a huge individual fan of the let's take a modern behavior and port it onto dinosaurs thing. And I also don't particularly love the like trying to subvert expectations approach. Right? Of like, we expect to see T-Rex being a nasty predator killing things, and so the first time we show it, it's going to be swimming, and the second time we show it, it's mating. Right, which I know has been discussed, like, I think Darren has talked about this as pretty much like a guiding principle of the show, is don't do the traditional thing. Don't show Triceratops fighting T-Rex, don't show Triceratops fighting itself. Show Triceratops doing a cave behavior like an elephant because it's something biologically plausible that could have happened and it's cool. So I would, and this is, not going to happen and it's okay. It's not what the people who make the show want to do. But I would like to see a little bit more traditional stuff now that we've done a full season of the less traditional stuff. I'd like to see T-Rex hunting something.
And I think a credit to that argument is that the subversive, it's not doing what we expected to do, is kind of undermined a little bit by not having it do familiar behavior first.
That's a good
like if
point.
you opened up with like, I don't know, some stereotype behavior from like a dromaeosaur or a tyrannosaur. And then you were kind of were setting up the next bit, and then you're like, oh, but it's actually, sometimes they hunt, sometimes they're doing monster things, and sometimes they're doing this stuff.
Right.
I think would almost be more effective.
I agree.
Like the pterosaur stuff, they just make them fucking like psychopath murderers, and it's great.
Yeah.
Right.
As
It's
they
like,
are.
life's hard, life's bad.
Exactly. And like, if you're not going to do something traditional, I think it's good to have it be something that is really informed by the fossil record. Like, I think my favorite segment in Prehistoric Planet is the Chinchousaurus hunt. We've talked about that before on the channel. We'll link again to the Chinchousaurus video. I love that sequence. I think it's beautiful. But my actual favorite segment from the show is the Mononicus scene, because it was heavily informed by recent research about their sensory abilities and ecological habits.
Right.
And so I think that was really perfect for Prehistoric Planet, because it showed something we're not used to seeing dinosaurs do, like being weird anteater termite eaters, myrmecophages. Right. We're not used to seeing them listen for insects and burrow into bark to get to them, but it's also something that's real and we know about from the fossil record, and this is like, recent research being brought to the public. So I personally wish that when we weren't going with the traditional expectation or even showing it a little bit, I wish we were doing more of that. And that's not to say that we can't have untraditional behaviors, but I like Alex said, I want to see something traditional. Like we saw tyrannosaurs swimming, displaying for mates, and sleeping.
And I guess
and like they did all those things. But
they also ate.
They also hunted.
They also exploded things when they touched them with their jaws.
See,
And I want to see
that's one of the reasons why I'm almost besides the fact of it has been stated that isn't what they want to do with the show, but I still am always a little bit surprised when I go back and watch clips from Prehistoric Planet, especially some of my favorite bits like the nanuqsaurus hunt and the velociraptor Ashdarkid hunt. It is a really bloodless show. And if you want to show a Tyrannosaurus Rex hunt something, there is no way that you can have it be bloodless. Things are, again, the actual scientific correct term is things are exploding.
Right. I think that should be the last segment in the last season. Is like it's gone this completely bloodless thing that's okay for kids. And then we finally see my fictional imagined version of T-Rex hunting, where there's an Edmontosaurus just near a copse of trees. And the T-Rex just comes out and takes like one big step before the Edmontosaur can figure out what's happening, and just gets its jaws around the backbone of the Edmontosaur and bites down hard, and you hear this loud crack, and then the whole Edmontosaur drops. And you see the T-Rex like start to get taken down and then like overcorrect backward and like lift it up, and the whole thing just splits in half and like just spills all of its guts onto the floor.
Just the cloaca is just spraying in here.
See,
just traumatize all the children watching.
James, the way that I remember you even worse explaining this to me once was basically that's a similar situation, but instead of just tearing this Edmontosaurus in half, it gets just the pelvis and explodes the pelvis and leaves this thing paralyzed from like the mid chest down, and its front limbs are like trying to crawl away as it's screaming, and then the Tyrannosaur is, as you put it, standing back and staring at it in that soulless, upsetting way that birds do, just entirely still. Just
right, just watching it scream,
like Alex at the beginning of that one episode that we had recently.
So regardless of what I want, I think that this is looking like another great season of a fantastic show and a real triumph of like artistic ability. It's really just amazing. My own gripes about the particular narrative choices made, I think it's a stunning show, and I'm really, really grateful that it exists, and I'm happy for the younger generation of scientists that gets to grow up with it.
Oh yeah,
same. Oh my gosh.
I mean, if this had come out when I was a child, this would be the defining thing from my childhood that made me.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like,
but would you have watched it if it were on a premiere stream, like a niche, like cable package?
Listen,
that's my one. That's my one big.
It's a rough.
But I mean, Apple TV commissioned it. It's not like they made it and then we're like, let's put it on Apple TV.
True.
Like, yeah. Like somebody had to pay to make it.
Like for all our quibbles and stuff with this, like ultimately a lot of the nitpicks that we have around like the specific choices with the animals are that nitpicks. That even if we're doing it of like by the standards of the time, if you look at Walking with Dinosaurs, God, there's so much that they got wrong. Like some things that they got hilariously wrong. Leopleurodon's a fun example. The shape of Allosaurus' skull is another. The weird
Costosuchus.
Yeah.
Ovipositors.
The ovipositors. The like
the
unguligrade
T-Rex.
T-Rex. That's
this is the
walking
whole
on its
T-Rex.
claws.
Everything
It's
about
the
it.
whole T-Rex. It's bad. Color scheme, amazing. That Beast of the Mesozoic figure that they have that has the Walking with Dinosaurs coloration. God, so good. But like, wow, what a not great T-Rex.
Right. And I can't think of a thing in prehistoric. There's one thing that I think is scientifically shown to be not right, and it's specifically the arrangement of the feathers on the velociraptor wing, which are like it's like they just don't go down far enough. They're on the third digit, right? Not on the second or something.
I thought they
I
were on the
couldn't
second.
remember off the top of my head. I was air quoting Velociraptor.
Oh, right.
Oh.
I'm sorry. No, there's something wrong. It's like they're either
You're right.
They're missing
You're
their
right, you're right.
tertiaries, or they're not extending far enough down the finger, or something like that. But it's an incredibly minor nitpick. There's very little here that's actually not correct, and that is an amazing testament to the scientific advising that the series has, and the effort of the character artists who are really putting everything into bringing dinosaurs to life in as accurate a way as they can. And I, for one, am really looking forward to May 22nd, because Scott won't be here.
God bless.
And also, we'll be able to watch Prehistoric Planet, and I'm sure we'll talk about it a little bit more.
Oh, yeah.
So, guys, we're the Skeleton Crew. Catch us for our normal Jurassic World content and for some very exciting stuff we have in the works. We'll see you later.
We'll
Thanks
keep
for
saying
watching.
that. We're going to keep saying that. There's nothing special.
It's in the works.
We're all special.
Bye-bye.
See you guys.
Bye.